no question. Would be better.
And if there are not, it's also fine. Yeah, sure.
Why did you choose Japan as the first player or come here or 10 years ago? There are other countries you can go, but you choose Japan. I'd like to hear the reason.
I talk about the E. Okay, I'm gonna use it because then it. You know, I actually thought a lot about this. This is like third of. I've made this a close plus presentation also for the engineering of the year. So I truly believe in my method. It is not that I'm saying something that is not true. So it was this approach. I already could speak some English, and I decided that I wanted to know more. I wanted to know about the new culture, about a new country. In my hometown in León, it's a rather small town. At the university, I could study like different languages. I could study Arab language, Russian, and Japanese. I liked Japan for. I mean, I'm no otaku actually, not at all. I've seen the typical Dragon Ball, but I was not crazy about that. I didn't have any interest in Russia or the Arab world, so I had a good image of Japan and I tried. And my teacher was a fantastic person, and we got a really good group, and it all started from there. So it was the E part in the ETR. I wanted to go further, and once I got out of my comfort zone, I actually liked Japan, and I carried on. So that's the answer.
Thank you for your speech. And I want to know, is there any specific experience which brings you that ETR mindset? Do you have any specific example or from your childhood or?
Sorry, if I have any experience in my childhood who made me develop the ETR method?
Yes, so any specific experience here.
Let's say I developed the ETR method starting with my professional career on how to help others, pretty much not to struggle as much as I have struggled sometimes when things got difficult. There's one thing I haven't said, and it is for ETR, we all have natural abilities. Some of us like to get out of our comfort zone, some don't. Some are good for teamwork, some are not. And some are good at being resilient, and some are not. In my case, I already told you, for example, for the English one, I had this experience with the Japanese language. With the resilience one, I also told you. And about teamwork, I would say that rather than anything when I was young, it was me trying to be a good leader. I always wanted to. I never liked bosses. So in I don't know. It doesn't sound very good, but my motivation was that I felt that I wanted to do something by myself. After many years studying and being part of groups, so I wanted to make that change from follower to a leader. And it was very difficult, of course, because you are young. You're like a spoiled baby. You think that you are right, and you try to impose, and so then you learn little by little. So answering your question, I didn't have any trauma that made me think about this, but throughout my life and filtering with experience, I have filtered and filtered and filtered, and I reached to these three characteristics that I think are critical and important for any project.
Thank you.
I would like to ask how you maintain the culture of your company, the atmosphere of the company after the very difficult situation. You said you cut the salary of the employee.
Yeah.
I imagine that atmosphere was very awful. So,
yeah.
As a leader, as a CEO, how you change that situation?
I want to think that by the time you are in such position, I have already decided. It is already decided the answer of the employees because they've seen me throughout the whole process. So I never drove a Ferrari. I was always with my old car. So they never saw me flashy. I was one more working with them. So by the moment the times got rough, they knew who I was because I was working close with them. I think it truly helped. Because if I had not applied the ETR and I was just a stupid Wagamama person, after 5 years they know about me. So instead of thinking that I was having a very important exam that day, at that moment it was very tough. Right now, if I think about it, I realize that I had a 5-year exam, or I was preparing for that exam for 5 years. And when the day came, all those 5 years of good work and sincere work paid off to me. That's how I perceive it. But as I told you, if the first day I had come with a Ferrari saying I'm the best and whatever, probably they would have told me, okay, so you and your Ferrari, you do what you have to do, but we go from here. So I think it's it's the Japanese way. Every day you do something, you do something, you do something, and this little by little it is a mountain. And when something comes, all that investment pays off.
Thank you.
So you say don't reinvent the wheel, right? But what if the wheel's already broken to begin with?
What will?
You say, well, in teamwork, you say don't reinvent the wheel, right?
Mhm.
So I do understand the philosophy, but don't you ever find yourself in cases where you question its efficiency, or at least on your mind it's broken and or irrelevant for the current society? So in that case, don't you think that maybe there's a bit of a causing, well, it depends case by case, rather than just say, well, that's in place, I might as well leave it. So I'm just curious about that.
My approach to that, by the wheel, I mean that there is someone who already knows how to do wheels very well.
Right.
They have been doing them for 100 years. Or you can put it like, for example, in a team, sometimes when you are a leader, you want to know about everything. And you think, look, I'm more intelligent, so I can be a better marketing guy than you are. That's what I call reinventing the wheel. No, that guy knows about that wheel. That guy knows about marketing. If you try to learn now about marketing, about how it works, you don't have time for everything. The world is hyper specialized. So maybe I have not explained myself clearly, but by reinventing the wheel, I mainly meant that let people do what they know how to do. Don't try to, if you want to build a car, you don't have to reinvent the wheel and then the door and then everything. That's already set. Just focus on what you're good at. That was my approach. Sorry if I wasn't
Oh, no, I
clear on that.
just wanted to hear a different opinion.
Okay.
All right, awesome, thank you.
Could you tell me, so how did you find the new business? I mean, so at what point do you focus on innovative technology or so good marketplace or human resources? So please.
That's the typical question I always make because it seems that there's magic. It seems like I was working at the embassy and then magic and then I'm in a company, right? It is not like that. It's the interest story. There's always something in between, right? Actually, when I came to Japan, I already had some conversations with the other two main partners. The tech partners are older than me, and they needed a guy with an international vision, who could speak languages, with knowledge of the public sector. And I had this idea in my mind. So when I arrived here, my boss at the embassy told me, do you want to research or to study the a new energy sector in Japan? And I told her, look, I like that sector, but actually I have some experience in the biotech sector. It was half truth. So would you mind if I try the biotech? I think I told my boss, you can benefit from that because I know about it, and so you let me do this for 3 or 4 months, and then we can switch to the solar or new energy sector. And she told me yes, and at that point, I was just building my plan B. I was working for a project that might come true in the future. So my, at that time, not yet partners, but acquaintance, they worked on the project, they put together some financing, and by that time, I already had strengthened my position because I knew the market in Japan. So the fact I told you in the beginning that I studied biotech at the embassy, it was not by chance. Not forced it, but I suggested it. Probably if I wasn't given the opportunity and they told me about study new energies, I would have studied the sector by myself probably, but it was not the same. I was going everywhere with the business card of the embassy, and so that's the story, and that's a good question. Things are usually not magic. I mean, there's some a part of the destiny in whatever you do, but you know, it was on purpose.
Well, I have a question about the point, no one is indispensable. During tough time, I guess you may have experience to find someone from the company. In that case, if answer is yes, what makes you go for that tough decision? Or if you don't have any experience, what makes you keep trusting those people in your company?
Usually there is no romanticism.
Right.
I just need them.
Yep.
So, of course, resilience and teamwork many times come together. Sometimes I exaggerate, but sometimes probably I wanted to kill someone in the company, but I needed him. So that was enough reason for me to, you know, just go somewhere, have a beer, rant about it, and just let it go. Let's say that even if the investment was pretty big, a 25 million investment and 25 or 30 workers, it is very limited, even for bigger companies. 200 people in an office, you know, people are they know about one thing. Usually you are not big enough so you can just, you're fired or whatever. That's only in the Wall Street films. In my opinion, the great leader doesn't let the situation to get so out of hand that you have to fire someone. It's what I told before about the moment you have to cut the salaries. If you are a good leader, I think you should have done a good job before that. But your question is very good. Sometimes someone is indispensable. Usually, I mean, if you take it to the extreme, no one is, because we could have just shut down the company and the world carries on. But sometimes, for certain periods of time, people are indispensable. If things get totally crazy, you just fire and you hire another one. You can always do that. So, yeah, of course, the indispensable part is more for yourself. When you try to be a leader, when you are going to be a leader, it is very important that you are humble, that you feel that everyone around you, you need them. Because a car without a wheel is not a car, it doesn't work. It is not that it is less of a car, it is not a car. So, yeah, you know, I always learn almost as much as I try to transmit. I learn with the questions, it's so interesting. So, yeah, indispensable for you. If you are the leader, for you, you are not indispensable. Thank you.
Okay, so we still have some more time. So maybe you guys, since we did a little exercise before the session, maybe you team up again, and then maybe you can discuss which of